Hi to all. So in this video, we're going to calculate the probability that a stock will go up or that it will go down. Or and let's keep in mind when we are calculating the probability that the stock will move up, we're also calculating the probability that our call option will go up in price, for instance, right? So before we do this formula, just a quick uh, remark. Let's keep in mind that we work with two different trees. So one pertains to the stock and the other one pertains to the option. It could be the call option, a call option, or a put option. So the interesting thing is, let's assume we have one stock, which is Wendy's. The price, let's assume, is 30. If something good happens following and they announce this positive event, then the price of a stock will go up to 50. If, on the other hand, it's a negative event, what has happened, then the stock may go down to 20. Now, when we are looking at this, we have to keep in mind that any asset is priced in the following way. We just take the probability of the asset price going up multiplied by the price of the stock if it actually goes up, plus the probability that it goes down, and then multiply by the stock price if it goes down. That applies to this particular stock. That applies to any kind of asset if we only conditional to having only two scenarios, a good state of the world or a bad state of the world. Then we have to acknowledge that this or this is happening in the future. So whatever we have here, we need to divide that by 1 plus r, and where r simply represents a discount rate, so we can actually get this expected value between these two possible outcomes. But now we want to get this present value in we want to get the present value, so we want to get this value today. So long story short, we have the stock tree, and the stock tree has some probability that this particular stock will go up in price, and the one minus that probability will be the probability that the stock will go down in price. So the option tree, or in other words, the derivative, which has this particular stock as the underlying, will share the same probability. So long story short, I have given this small context just to let you know that 1 minus p and p are going to be shared uh, by both the stock tree, if you draw it here, and also the options tree. So if we go to an Excel where we basically have the probable prices, or the potential prices of our stock in these two, good state of the world, bad state of the world. So for instance, let's assume the stock price today is 136. If the stock price moves up, it will go to a value, it will take a value of 227. So let's assume we know this. If the stock price goes down, it will go down to 31. Let's assume we know this, okay? Now, the call option, in this case, we're dealing with a call option. The strike is 140. We can see it right here. And then, so we need to find the probability. So the formula of our probability, and I'm going to go back to the whiteboard just to type that formula here. The formula of the probability of both these trees we just saw is the following. Probability will be equal to 1 plus r minus d divided by u minus d. So that formula, you better write it in your formula sheet and you keep it with you. So let me just write it now here again. It's 1 plus r minus d, and then divided by u minus d. And let's keep in mind you have to solve the whole numerator. So we better, uh, in include these two parentheses here just to make that a little bit clearer. So now that we have this formula, right, what is u, by the way? So let's not forget u and d. What are u and d? U is simply that number that u, we can get it by dividing the stock price if it goes up, if the stock goes up, and we divide that by the stock price today. Okay, so what now is the intuition, right? If we have 1.67, like this is the u in this case, basically what this is saying is whatever the stock price today is, you multiply that by that u factor, quote unquote, and then that is your prediction. That is the price you expect the stock to take in the good state of the world. Now, what is down? So that this is u. Now, down, conversely, is that value which you multiply the stock price today, and it lets you to identify what the stock price will be like in the bad state of the world, basically. So you can get that by dividing now the stock price in the bad state of the world. This is 31, and you divide that by the stock price today, and that gives you now 0.23 basically. So in other words, if you multiply, let's just summarize this, in the bad state of the world, if you multiply the stock price today times D or times down, you end up with the stock price in the bad state of the world. If you multiply the stock price today by up or U, you end up with the stock price in the good state of the world. So now you have U and D. So I'm just going to copy this here. We just calculated it right here. We have 1.67, we have 0.23. So what is the probability? So we have the formula here, and therefore using it is quite simple. After we have u, after we have d, probability is just 1 plus r, and r is going to be given then minus d, or the down factor. And then let's put all of this in a parenthesis, and then we're going to divide this by u minus d, and we close the parenthesis, and that's it. Now, p, which is, this is what we have the formula for right here. This is the probability that the stock will go up, and this is also, let's keep that in mind, the probability that your call option will go up, right? So this is also the probability that your call option will be uh, in the good state of the world. And in the good state of the world, we don't have to do this. If we are only asked for the probability, we don't have to do this. But just uh, just because we're interested, we can get the call option if in the good state of the world with the formula max of stock price minus strike price or zero. And then call option in the bad state of the world would be max of stock price in the bad state of the world minus strike or zero. So that's obviously going to be zero. Okay. But going back to probabilities, we just calculated the probability if the the probability of the stock price moving up. What is the probability conversely of the stock price or the call option being in the bad state of the world, or the stock price moving down? Well, since probability of the good state of the world and probability of the bad state of the world must add to 1, because these two probabilities span all the possibilities basically in this hypothetical world, then this is just 1 minus probability of good state of the world. So 1 minus 0.57 gives us 0.43. And now 0.43 is the probability that the stock will go down. So let's not be confused about these things. First, you calculate P, but keep in mind the meaning of P. P is the probability that the stock price will move up. And because the two trees, the stock tree and also the options tree, share these probabilities, this is also the probability that your call option will end up in the good state of the world. 1 minus p, which is exactly that. You get it by subtracting 1 minus whatever you got for p. This is the probability that the stock will move down, and it is also the probability that your call option or put option will end up in this bad state of the world for the stock, right? So basically, this is how we get the probabilities. And then I hope this is helpful. If you have any questions, please keep in mind you can always message me. And let's basically that's it. So thanks to all. Take care.